Hi, I'm D. I review rums, and this is 1833. So morning guys, another Saturday morning here. Actually, it's looking quite nice. This week has been a miserable week. It's come like summer finish, autumn start, and there was no sort of in-between gradual fall into it. It was like, bam, it's been cold. Well, no, it's been chilly. But it's nice today. It looks like a nice day. The sun's out, blue skies. Hopefully the temperature picks up. They say it will over this weekend, but we'll see. So anyway, that's the weather report. What am I doing this weekend? Tomorrow is the North London derby. So I'm looking forward to Arsenal beating Spurs. That is the plan. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Renters Reform Bill, or the Renters Reform Act. Before I do that, today I'm having the Camarel 2013. I will, if I remember, put the card for the review in this video as well. So yeah, Renters Reform Bill. So it's a couple of ways. It's one of those topics that once again, it sounds like an easy topic, but there's so many strands to it and go so many different directions. So the short part is the Renters Reform Act or Bill. I'm not quite sure what name is going through at the moment, but designed to make it harder for landlords to kick out tenants, but also hold landlords more accountable to have. So you watch the news sometimes, see these slum landlords with places with hundreds of mold everywhere, and it's not safe electrically or what have you, or not safe with fire regulations, that sort of thing. No smoke detectors, no fire alarms, no. I saw one on the news the other day, like the ceiling had almost caved in. The floorboards from the upstairs are all exposed. It was like electrical cables just hanging around and mold everywhere. It's like this is a derelict house, more so than a house. And they were charging some people £800 per room. I was like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, that sort of thing. 100% agree with. But also they're getting rid of this thing called Section 21. Now, Section 21 is a way that landlords are able to get rid of tenants. Now, quickly and easily. So, and that seems to be a bad thing. So what the problem with that is on the surface it sounds good. It's no fault eviction, so that gives a landlord the ability to get rid of a tenant without the tenant having to break any rules. Landlords can say, I'm done with this. So it's called a no fault eviction. So on the surface it sounds great, gives tenants more power. But my problem with this conversation is it's always taken from the point of the landlords being terrible and all tenants being amazing. And that's not the case. Just like any walk of life, you're gonna have crappy landlords, you're gonna have really crappy tenants as well. So the Section 21 is a way that landlords can use, a tool landlords can use to get rid of tenants without trying to exhaust other means which take longer and cost more money. So for example, there's something called a Section 8. Section 8 kicks in when a tenant hasn't paid rent. The problem with that is the tenant has to owe 2 months rent. So paint you a picture, my rent's due first a month, hasn't paid, landlord gives it a couple of days. Oh, it's like the third, hey, tenant, you haven't paid. Oh no, sorry, it's been a problem with the blah blah blah, this blah blah blah. I'll pay you next week. I'll pay the week after. Okay, cool. Gets to the end of gets a couple of weeks later, landlord calls up, still not received the rent. What's happening? Need to pay the rent. Blah blah blah. Tenants blah blah blah. Tenant gets another excuse. So 1 month goes by, I haven't paid. Say it happens again. Get to like the end of the second month. Now that's when the landlord's now able to start procedures with solicitors, so they can go for all solicitors things. So that costs money, that takes time. So you can't just bring bailiffs or police in. You have to go through this whole legal thing. So you have to wait for the end of the second month. Then you can engage with a solicitor, because it costs time, costs money. So solicitors to do these things. You've got to send letters out and what have you. And then if it kind of ignores them, then it can go to a court. And then only at that point, so now we're talking, this could be like, and it depends how backed up where you live, how backed the courts are. You could be talking like 4, 5, 6 months of not receiving any rent before it's even got to a court stage. So the judge can say, yes, you can kick this person out, right? But with the Section 8, so say it's gone 6 months. Has to pay for 6 months, gets a court day, and then the morning of the court session, the tenant pays 5 of the 6 month rent deals. The courts can't do anything because for Section 8 to kick in, they have to owe 2 months rent. So you can go for all of that, 6 months, go for all of that payments with the solicitors and what have you, and at the end of it all, the tenant can still owe you a month's rent, but you can't kick them out. You got to start the whole process all over again. So that's why landlords use things like Section 21, because it's a quick way of just getting it. You know, you're not paying your rent. If I do this route, it's going to take me forever, and it's not guaranteed. I can do this route. It's quicker. It still costs money, but it's quicker. I can get you out. So that's why things like Section 21 have to exist, because other routes, tenants that are a nuisance, that sort of thing, these all take lots of time to progress through the channels that have to exist. So Section 21 is a nice, quick way of saying, you ain't paid me, get out. You're causing a nuisance, you're breaking things, you're annoying other people in the block, get out. And again, I'm not trying to say that some landlords don't use it unscrupulously, but this is why it has to exist, because not all tenants are perfect. And you need a way to get your property back, otherwise you're held hostage. Nothing you can do, no recourse really. What also happens is this: if a tenant has, you're thinking, oh no, but if you do your background checks, you find out blah blah. Background checks do not tell you if a tenant's been kicked out because of rent arrears. It's not stored anywhere. It's not on a credit file, so you can do your credit checks, but it's not on a credit file. There's nowhere for you to know if a tenant has been evicted or whatever because of rent arrears. So every tenant is a risk to you as a landlord. Again, people don't know this because they just think, you go into it and it's always landlord's fault and so on and so on. And again, there's always this, the conversation is always skewed to tenants being fantastic and landlords being slum. But what people also forget to remember is that a lot of landlords, especially in the UK, they're not big institutions. So you have these, the name what they're called now, housing associations that own tens of thousands of properties or manage them. So they're institutions. So they look after grand proportion. They do a lot of social housing stuff. But a lot of your private landlords, or people that own maybe 1 or 2 properties, are definitely people who property isn't their day job. They have a day job somewhere else. They've exercised some equity in their own home, for example, on bought a property, or bought 2 properties, or what have you. And so it's very much a part-time thing, very much designed to be, this is my pension sorted for the long term. So this money is just this equity, this asset. It's there for me to retire on in the future. So as a tenant, you're able to pick up the phone, speak to your landlord directly. Okay. So they don't have, if you're sort of these private sort of landlords, you don't have these deep pockets to absorb all these costs. You don't have deep pockets and have to be able to afford a tenant not paying you for 6 months. And again, people talk about, if you're not paying you, mortgages are going up, what have you. Landlords should be able to absorb these costs and so on and so forth. But again, if Tesco's, if Audi, if all these big manufacturers who make millions and billions of pounds a year don't absorb the costs and pass their costs, and why should a landlord have to be able to absorb these costs where most of them don't have pockets that deep? But I say that to say this though. People in the not too distant future people are going to look back to this time, this period, and going to want to wish it was back the way it is today. Because what you're finding now is that more big institutions are coming into the property ownership, property management space. You have banks getting in the way, getting into it. You have retailers. John Lewis is trying to get into the space, and now people think, oh yeah, but this is good, blah blah. People innately think, for some strange reason, think big company good, standards will go up and this, that, and the other. No, it's not going to happen. What will happen is this: if you are a massive institution and you're able to buy 100,000, tens of thousands of properties, you're able to squeeze out little landlords who own maybe 1 or 2 properties. You dominate and control the market. What happens then is prices go up. You've got few big players, they can dominate, set the prices, they control things, prices go up. Okay. Those sort of big institutions care less about things like Section 21 because these are the people, these are the companies, these companies can afford to go and absorb the cost of going down a legal route of getting rid of you for whatever reasons. So if you're not paying, cool. It's that they are able to absorb those costs more than a person, as an individual, trying to save for his or her retirement. That's another thing to be concerned about. You may think that's a win for tenants. We also need to remember that the number one duty for any of these listed companies is to return profits to shareholders. So just like you have a lot of these sort of slum landlords or housing associations, you'll find out with these institutions as well, because they will only do the bare minimum that they can get away with legally and to their shareholders. So what does that look like? Okay, so if you're a tenant now, you have a problem with something. It may be one of those things where, you know what, legally I don't have to do it for you as a tenant, but you know what, I can't deal with the hassle, I'll fix this for you. Now you're dealing with these big institutions, that's a you problem. You broke it, that's your problem. I don't have to do this. I don't legally have to deal with this, that's your problem. But now you're not picking up the phone and speaking to your landlord, you're not texting your landlord saying it's broken, you're calling some call centre now. You're being placed on hold, you're being battered around the bush. Remember, these people can afford to bounce you around and not listen to your concerns. You, instead of a person you can call and harass and what have you, who's gonna be like, so there's some mold or something's broken, they'll call a contractor, get out straight away. You are 1 in 1,000, 1 in 2,000 people have a problem. So and these companies will now have group of contractors they work with. So now you're just in the list. So you've got a window broken, you're in the list. We'll come to you. We're not going to dismiss you. You've been bounced around through the departments. You called up. It's like press 1 for rents, press 1 for repairs, blah, 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 blah. You press your number, you wait in a hole, you log it. It's gone to some other system. And now you're in the queue to get your window repaired. But there's another 10,000 of you in the country waiting for your window repairs. So you're just one in that list. The answer to this is not having these big institutions. That is a different set of problems. So I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be some reforms. Absolutely need to be some reforms. Some landlords are terrible. Some landlords have their places in a state that is not fit for humans, and do things legally. 100%, fix that, get that right. But at the same time, you also need to remember there needs to be more protection on the other side as well. The situation is too far skewed in one direction. There needs to be more of a sense of balance, so that if a renter is not paying rent, a landlord doesn't have to go through such archaic and time-consuming little procedures. Yes, element of it will be a cost of business because stuff happens, so you have to be able to afford to pay solicitors and what have you. But the process doesn't need to be so clunky. It can be reformed to be more streamlined so that it helps your smaller landlords as well, because you don't want to be in a position where you don't have any small landlords anymore and all you have is big institutions. I promise you, all of you out there, that is not the answer. It's going to cause more problems and things will only get worse for you all. I'm lucky I'm not in a position that I don't rent anymore, but I know what it's like to rent. A few friends that are landlords as well. And so that's why I'm able to see it from both directions, understand it in a little more detail. That's my thoughts on the Rental Reform Act. I think, in short, there are some good parts, but it needs to be, the protections go too far in one direction and they need to come back a little bit that direction.